We're in the early verses of John chapter 19 today. That was your time in the Word. And in that particular passage, you just saw that Christ has been handed over the crown of thorns. He's been flogged. I mean, He is headed towards the crucifixion. I thought today you saw it in your devotion. I wanted to spend a little bit of time in Isaiah 53, read through some verses here, and then talk about the ramifications of these verses. Isaiah 53 says of Christ, it says, Christ was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Like one whom men hide their faces, He was despised, and we esteemed Him not. Surely He took upon Himself our infirmities, He carried our sorrows. We considered Him stricken by God, smitten by Him, and afflicted. You see a picture that you need to understand, that when Christ was on the cross, He experienced God's wrath. That the wrath He was receiving was the wrath that was reserved for you and the wrath that was reserved for me. That's why we say that Christ died as our substitute, that He received the wrath that we deserved. It goes on and it says, He was pierced for our transgressions. Please understand that the death of Christ had nothing to do with anything that He did, and everything to do with all of the things and the sins that we have done. It said He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon Him, and by His wounds we are healed. That the punishment that He received has healed us. Kind of amazing that God would allow the innocent one to die in our place, those who are guilty. That He would allow the one who had not sinned to die in the place of those who had sinned. That is incredible grace that God would allow that to take place. It says, all we like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way, and the Lord has laid on Him the iniquity of us all. As you watch this passage and you see this unfold, let me tell you what's really going on here. What you're understanding from these verses is that Christ came to shelter us from God's wrath. Let me say that a little bit differently. That Christ came to save us from God. When you read Isaiah 53, you understand that Christ was receiving our condemnation from God. I know it's not politically correct to say this, but it's very true anyway. That outside of Christ, God will crush everyone. It is only through Christ that we have a refuge, because He has received God's wrath on our behalf. I beg you and I plead with you that you let other people know what Christ has accomplished. Otherwise, they themselves will face the very wrath of God.